This year is a special year for the city of Highland Village. We're celebrating our 60th anniversary. Looking back at our history and the desires of our founding fathers, we can see a consistent theme of connection and a spirit of volunteerism in all we do. I'd like to take a walk down memory lane and share some of our history with you and what we are doing today to continue Highland Village as a connected community striving for excellence. Our History and Heritage Book of Highland Village tells us that in the late 50s and early 60s, residents from Highland Park came here and built weekend homes on the lake. Many chose to make their weekend getaway their permanent home. Robert Duvall, owner of much of the land on the northeast side of the city, says, in the early 1960s, we were out in the country. We were a good long ways from Lewisville. That might not be a bad thing, TJ. At that time, there were about 5 or 6 people living on Highland Village Road, and that was it. We had 5 different additions going in with no controls whatsoever, no water systems. So each addition had their own little water system. Some of us got together and decided we didn't want to get taken by Lewisville and forgotten about. We wanted to incorporate so we could take care of ourselves. Duvall and others say they counted every dog, cat, woman, and child to come up with a population of about 200. Highland Village incorporated on February 14, 1963 by a vote of 53 for and 7 opposed. Public safety was one of the first issues city leaders tackled. Fred Chance, a Highland Village resident and a Dallas police officer, volunteered to serve as police chief. He operated the police department from his home. His wife took messages from people in need and relayed them to him as soon as she could. The first police vehicle was a small 8-cylinder Ford, and the city purchased a siren, a red light, and painted the logo on the side. Chief Chance said the siren had such a small, tinny sound that any car ahead couldn't even hear it, so he mostly relied on the red light on the top of the car. Over the years, the city began to see an increase in crime, even a murder and rambunctious teenagers causing mischief. I was not one of those. It was in the mid-90s that the relationship began with Highland Village Youth when Officer April Rapolo took over teaching the DARE program in the elementary schools, and the department began handing out cop cards, like sports trading cards. Today, that relationship with our youth is stronger than ever and an integral part of our community policing model. Highland Village consistently ranks in the top 10 safest cities in Texas. This year, the department has expanded the installation of static license plate recognition cameras to provide added security at our parks and public areas within the city. In the early 70s, Highland Village resident Bob Galloway, a member of the Dallas Fire Department, volunteered to chair a committee to organize a volunteer fire department. The volunteer fire department acquired their first fire truck, which carried just 350 gallons of water, from the city of Highland Park for a bargain price of $2,610. When the volunteers received the first call of a barn fire, Robert Duvall drove the truck. He took the curve at Highland Village Road a little too fast and turned the truck over. Duvall was thrown from the truck and says it was a miracle he survived. The firefighters called for mutual aid from the Lewisville Fire Department, who put out the barn fire. As the city grew, the volunteer department grew to a combination paid and volunteer staff. It soon became apparent a full-time paid staff was needed. In early 2000, the city began the process of moving to a full paid staff and met that goal in 2009 with no impact in raising the city's existing tax structure. This year, the department continues to look at innovative ways to meet the emergency medical service and fire protection needs of our community by adding power shifts and hiring part-time firefighter paramedics to work during the peak call hours, reducing our reliance on mutual aid. That's my name. In the 1980s and 90s, Highland Village saw significant growth and was quickly becoming a sought-after community. City leaders put design standards in place for economic development and began to actively seek a cohesive development for the land at the FM 2499 and FM 407 intersection. The property owners came together and a lifestyle center was built on the western side of FM 2499, and a regional development including the first high-end Walmart was built on the east side. The opening of these 2 centers in 2007 and ultimately the expansion of FM 2499 in 2010 benefited our community through increased sales tax revenue. This was the goal of city leaders at the time, to provide a diversified revenue stream to maintain Highland Village's desired quality of life without affecting the tax rate. Today, we continue to see locally owned businesses choose Highland Village and thriving with the support of the community, as well as the Highland Village Business Association. We can't talk about Highland Village without talking about our parks and trails system. In the early 70s, the city began a relationship with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to lease the parks along the lake. Today, Highland Village leases Copper's Branch Park on the northeast side. Often it's a lengthy process to determine what will work best in a particular area. The city's first city manager suggested Copper's Branch Park would be an excellent site for an amusement park. Now we know much of the park is in the floodplain and have created a master plan to make the best use of each area within the park. In 2001, the city entered into a lease agreement with the Corps for Pilot Knoll Park. Many improvements have been made at the park, and a new gatehouse and improvements to the boat dock and camping structures are in the works this year. The newest gem in the park system is Doubletree Ranch Park. This property is where Highland Village began. Highland Village's founding father and first mayor, Robert Duvall, owned it, and the city's first council meetings were held at Doubletree Ranch. The property remained in the Duvall family for many years and eventually sold. After a failed attempt to develop it, the property went into bankruptcy. The city was approached by the Trust for Public Land, who offered to partner with us to purchase the property in order to maintain its heritage and history. In 2009, the city went to the Denton County Courthouse and purchased the property on the auction block for $2.9 million. Doubletree Ranch Park today is a premier park with an award-winning great lawn, soccer fields, trails, an event center, pavilion, and a very popular splash pad. Last year, the city had to close the splash pad early in the season due to deteriorating surface. Today, the splash pad surface has been replaced and fencing is going up to protect the surface and to add enhanced safety. In the 1990s, the city applied for a Texas Parks and Wildlife matching grant to construct a park in the Briar Hill subdivision. And in 1992, the city purchased 40 acres off Briar Hill next to the existing Briar Hill Park. This is our Unity Park where baseball and softball games are played, tennis matches are held, kids play at Kids Castle, and dogs run free at K9 Castle Dog Park. Here, we saw the spirit of connection and volunteerism as the community came together multiple times to build Kids Castle. This year, we're adding synthetic grass to the dog park, the Kids Castle entrance, and the batting cages. Additionally, we are conducting a feasibility study to add a kickball field to the park to meet this growing recreation program. In 1997, the Parks and Recreation Board recommended the development of a multi-use trail system to benefit and serve all citizens of Highland Village and to link schools, parks, and Lake Lewisville. Today, through the use of 4B sales tax funds, the trail system traverses from one end of the city to the other, and we are currently working to fill in the gaps to truly provide connectivity to all our residents. All throughout our 60-year history, we can see our city leaders and residents have worked together to make Highland Village what it is today. As in any community, there have been ups and downs along the way. What we continue to see here is that spirit of partnership, connectedness, and volunteerism makes Highland Village stronger and better. Happy birthday, Highland Village.